Hello there. Welcome to JonnyBuildz. I'm your host, Johnny, and we've got Krista and Marcella with me again. Hello.
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 We were scrambling right there at the end, right there, right before we started, because someone was a little bit late today. I won't say who.
I own up to my lateness.
And look at you though. You have like the whole professional setup. You got like your microphone boom mic there. You got your gaming chair. You got everything going tonight. Yep. Ben says hello, Pittsburgh pals.
Hello.
And to make a point for that, Ben, by the way, let me know how the sound is microphone wise, how they sound. Sometimes we have to adjust that. Oh, puppy alert. Ben is actually going to have in just under an hour, he's going to be actually interviewing Justin from the same season, which you guys did.
Hey.
So I have actually a...
Well, you know that. You know he's the best.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And I know Ben knows that too, obviously. So actually, I think I'm going to double check and put that in the chat as well. Hold on. I'm going to put the link... for the... There we go. That's the link for Ben's stream in there. That is after. Don't go there now. That is for afterwards. So, yeah. So anyway. So, all right. Episode 4. This is the first episode without you guys in it, unfortunately.
But there was a Pittsburgh connection.
What's that?
And not only a Pittsburgh connection, but technically, Krista was still in it. You could see her minifig arm at the end there.
Okay. Hey, my Mech Off Studios. So
we had our favorite Pittsburgh son wearing his West Homestead shirt.
Oh, that's true. So for those of you that do not know, the one that voices the great and powerful Oz, Jeff Goldblum is from Pittsburgh, he does call Pittsburgh home. I don't know how much. I mean, he does come back, just like Michael Keaton does. Yeah, and he actually had. If you saw the episode and saw the shirt that Jeff Goldblum was wearing, it said Homestead on there. What was it? Homestead what?
West Homestead.
West Homestead. Yeah. Which Homestead's actually where Dave and Buster's is, where we've done our view parties and stuff. So.
He was born in West Homestead.
What's that?
He was born in West Homestead.
Yes, he was. Yeah, he was born in West Homestead. So overall feelings about this episode. Obviously, it was wicked. Tell us how you feel.
First and foremost, super bummed we didn't get to do this episode.
It was a magical episode. It was.
Imagine the weird thing I would have said.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can come up with something as like what would have been appropriate for this particular episode. How did you feel based on what the challenge? I mean, obviously, being wicked, being magic, and all different kinds of things. How did you feel the challenge was presented?
I thought it was an interesting challenge with the good and wicked. It's very on brand for what wicked is. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was interesting that they had to do some sort of movement using the Spike Prime Hub.
Right.
Yeah. I think my only challenge came in the translation between the spell books and what was in the spell books. Half of them were designed to be good. Half of them were designed to be evil or wicked.
Right.
But then they got words like butterfly, friendship, defiance. I see why some of them had a hard time connecting the theme with their spell.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been better to have like levitate or, bubble was okay because that fit Glinda. But I just think some of them were a little strange.
So let's go off of that then. So power seems to be, that one seemed very easy. That seemed like a very wicked thing. That seemed very witch oriented. And, the two guys that designed their model around power very, very easy to, to make that happen.
Yeah.
Love, on the other hand, same thing. I think it was designed and done in a good way. Some of the other ones I agree though, like what was, not deviousness? What was it? What was the one? Defiance. So what would you have done? You watched the episode, obviously.
Yeah.
So what would you have done?
For Defiance. Give me a minute to think about it.
John and Justin had Defiance, right?
Yes.
They had Defying Gravity.
Yeah.
No. They had Defiance.
They had Defiance. Yeah. So they used Defiance as I like Ben's. So Ben says USS Defiant from Deep Space Nine. Don't think it would quite fit the theme there.
Oh, I know what it was. It was Alex and Tone that were having a hard time with deception.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I think
John and Justin
honestly,
did Defiance perfectly.
Okay.
Yeah, they knocked that out of the park for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Deception is a little harder, like Tone said. It's all about understanding the concept of deception, and since they weren't really familiar with Wicked, I think they did a great job though with the two-tone faces and showing that aspect. They just needed to carve out the sculpting of the face a little more.
Oh, I actually think they needed to do that quite a lot. I mean, Krista and I were talking backstage a bit, and how both Jamie and Amy came up to them and were like, "Hey, your green face doesn't really show up very well. You kind of need to change it. And if the judges tell you kind of need to change it, you probably should." But they did. Like it really. And my comment was, like Krista said, outline it maybe, and I was thinking, well, just make the face itself like a different shade of green or something, just so it stands out enough. But it was like, if they tell you to do it, you probably should.
Yeah, my thought was like if you had edged it in a color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, and and I kind of agree too. Like deception, like if you wanted to fully camouflage it on purpose, like make like part of it like it's kind of a mountain thing, like make like the nose kind of like stick out a bit, but like it's kind of all hidden, and then you turn around, it's like, oh, there it is. But then it would have to be kind of the same face, just colored, not completely different. So
yeah, the green face though did remind me a little bit of Return to Oz's rock face, the gnome king kind of rock face. That's what the green part kind of reminded me of.
Yeah.
I think if they had just swapped the colors, put the purple on the green, it would have popped more. And then on the back, put the dark green on the beige.
Oh, yeah.
It would have completely popped, and the dynamic would have been a lot different. And they could have covered that. I think another problem might have been just the back was just too blocky. So if they'd maybe used a few rows of snot to cover up some of that blockiness with some rock panels or something. But like you said, they had like 7 hours this time.
Yeah.
7.5, I think.
Yes, 7.5. Yes. Yes. All things of a twist, because this wasn't really a twist. This was a gimme. It's like, hey, everybody is having trouble, so let's give an extra half. And you could tell that's why they did that. But like, because he, of course, is like, oh, if I say this wrong, you're going to lose a half hour. It's like, if they're even presenting this, like, they're wanting to give them more time.
Yeah. My heart sank into my butt thinking they might have taken 30 minutes from them. I was like, please don't do that.
Wait. Is that the thing for this episode? Heart sinking into your butt?
Heart in my butt.
I think these challenges are hard overall, just because if you're not familiar with the IP, like Jamie and Maya.
Oh yeah, completely.
Actually asked another team, like, can you explain this to us?
Yeah.
Because we're not familiar with it. So I think that's a challenge too, because they had bravery.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling to remember exactly what they built, but I think their build was fine. But for not knowing the material in particular, but it's like, how much do you lean into the IP?
Right.
Versus how much do you lean into kind of what you're supposed to be building?
Surprisingly, I think for not knowing Wicked at all and the brief explanation they got, theirs was the one that was like supposed to be the mirror, but it ended up being more like a window. But like it was supposed to be her seeing her face, and then it opened up, and she's like, oh, goes into the world and stuff, is like, I'm brave being myself or whatever like that. I think they did actually the essence of what Wicked itself is, like with that, because it's the whole she looks so different, et cetera, and they pulled it off very well, I think.
Yeah, they did a great job. It was a hard challenge.
Absolutely. And Ben's like, is a little bit more like Wizard of Oz. Well, if you don't know what Wicked looks like, then Wizard of Oz, I guess, is kind of the next best thing, because it is the same thing, so to speak, but not, not quite. But, and Krista brought up a good point, because I didn't realize this. So part of the challenge, too, was the fact that they're using the new power functions, and I didn't realize this at all. Krista, would you explain to everybody, like, what all is actually involved with this version of the power functions? Because I have the grand piano, which uses, I guess, the old version of power functions, which you have to use your phone, you have to Bluetooth into the device, and then you have to use your phone and keep it connected in order to actually use the power functions. But this is more now.
Right. So what they're using in this is what's called Spike Prime. It's under the education line. So it's essentially like the next evolution of Mindstorms, but it's a lot more coding. So you can essentially code it on your phone or your tablet and then upload it to the hub, and then the hub will run whatever the program is. So it's kind of, what did I akin to? Scratch. So if you know Scratch programming, you'll understand this easily.
Oh, Ben is saying I have powered up. I guess that's what it used to be, or maybe they still have that. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know, because I know the Lighthouse uses that too.
Yeah, the powered up functions still, I think, exist, because there's a handful of sets, but it's very limited to like lights on off, motor on off. This is more, you can plug in a light sensor and a motor, and if it picks up a certain color, have the motor do something in particular.
Right. Yeah. And I was saying that, like, and I guess it is the new Mindstorms, so to speak, because I have the EV3, which was the last Mindstorms, and it's both programmable in Python, which is a programming language, and also building blocks, which I actually used for the spider, if anyone saw it. It was basically a jumping spider that like used a sensor, like someone, we had it in the Lego store during Halloween a few years ago. And so like if you put your hand up to the sensor, the spider would jump at you, and then it would pull itself back and kind of reset itself. That was all driven by the Mindstorms stuff. And it worked pretty well. But it was very simplistic also. So yeah, it's, when you start adding programming and things, you can do a lot more creative things. So let's go through the guys that had the golden brick for that episode. Mm-hmm. And they focused a lot on them just because like they kept being like, oh, this isn't quite lining up right, they're doing the hat and everything like that. But even through that, like comparatively, I was like, their build is at least in the middle of everybody's, with what they did and stuff. Would you have made the same decision they did and been like, yeah, we're gonna turn in the golden brick, or would you be like, no, we got this?
I don't know. I think we definitely would have talked about it. Marcella,
we'd have definitely talked about it for sure.
I think it's tough though, like when you're seeing things that don't line up the way you want, especially given the feedback in previous episodes of like why people were in the bottom. Mm-hmm. And for us, that would have been like, we've got that critique. So I would have been like, I'm not 100% because they're going to harp on this. Mm-hmm. So I might have done the same thing as Joe and Anthony and just said, let's play it safe. Let's live to fight another day and go from there.
And I think I would have probably tried to talk you into holding out 1 week. Because I really like that round structure of theirs. Mm-hmm. And I loved the way that hat looked when it came off, and that I think that build was awesome. And the way everything went around inside, and it had the little pokey hole coming out.
Yeah.
It was just so cool. I definitely would have tried to talk you into holding on to it.
It is a really gorgeous, I'm looking at it now. It is a really gorgeous build.
It is.
Like, I love what they did with that hat.
Yeah.
And even the color.
The rounded brim.
Have,
so cool.
Yeah. I would have suggested maybe gradient a little bit from one color to the other.
Yeah, that was very striking how they had done that. But yeah, the brim, when I saw that, that was the first thing they were doing. I was like, holy cow, that looks great.
Yeah.
The motorized looked good. The only thing, sure, the top did not 100% line up with the bottom, but it was very close. The only thing I thought was off was their Galinda looked bad.
Yeah. I thought it was an afterthought to me, kind of.
Yes,
almost.
yes.
Like they could have maybe focused on her a little bit more.
Yeah.
But it looked pretty good for what? For 7 hours.
For 7.5. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was one of those, like, we have 5 minutes left. We need a Galinda. Okay, mm-hmm. But see, they had the brick pit still available, so they could do that.
Right.
So yeah, I think their magic, it looked good. Like especially, like the fact that it was going around in a circle. And that it was hidden from view. It was, you couldn't see it at all until you opened the hat. Like that was just really cool.
Right. Now, if I would go off of previous feedback, I'd say, you had to be real close up to see that motorized part.
Yeah, you had to see over into the hat in order to be able to. Yeah.
See, we would have used that brick. We would have been all right.
See, yep. So, the winners of the challenge, theirs I think worked just flawlessly, and they've been working flawlessly, the all the challenges pretty much, but like the whole thing as a box, and all of a sudden it just falls apart. And then again, we were talked about the whole power aspect, and like not only did they have her wiggling, and they had everything else kind of wiggling and loose to make it look like it, but they had lights coming. Like I noticed that towards the end, but like the lightning had like lights in it, like it was flashing and stuff like that. Like everything was motorized, lit up, and it was just like it was effective, like completely effective.
It was.
And I know they showed them like struggling getting that box together, but that was a smart way to really build that box. Because when you look at like some of the other people, like some of the other teams that did the brick built boxes, that was such a large use of time to build those boxes.
Yes.
And they could have been focusing on the story as opposed to just building something to kind of that hides it. And correct me if I'm wrong, it wasn't one of the things that they said you had to hide it. They kind of hid it. It was like hidden, but they didn't say like you had to build a box or
correct.
No.
So that must have been
just
something
had to
that challenged me.
reveal a magical surprise. It didn't
I see.
It just had to reveal a magical surprise.
Okay. So they.
I was wondering about that.
So Anthony and Joe took it literally and like, all right, we will reveal it completely.
And you'll notice that theme went along. There were like two approaches. It was either something opens or you had to remove something to see the story, or they had something that you were like sliding out in front of you or removing.
Yep. Yeah. Whereas, who are the sisters? I can't remember their names.
Nikki and
Britton.
Ah, okay. So theirs was kind of the same thing. It was, but their box was pretty amazing just from the outside. The big heart on there, and then you open it, and both sides tell the story. So like they involved the entire thing as opposed to like, the box falling apart where the top of the hat goes away and then it's just gone. It's not used for anything. But like their whole box was used. And the first power functions part, the doors sliding, opening, and closing was very effective. And that's even harder to do than just kind of a revolve thing. But then the other part obviously fell apart, so to speak, and they couldn't get it to switch the way they wanted to.
Yeah. It almost sounded like the minifigure got caught in the contraption somehow. And then it just threw the whole thing off, and then you could hear something just crumble in the background. And
Yeah.
I know their hearts, again, probably sunk into butt.
Sunk into the butt. Yep.
Butt.
We know that feeling.
But what I was going to say about Alex and Tone, though, if they had, I liked their conveyor belt with the jewels. It was really cool. If they had maybe done a simple rotation on the bottom to have it spin and show those faces.
Okay.
Revealing that kind of deception.
Yeah.
That may have given them a leg up.
Yeah, simply because like a conveyor belt is actually very simplistic compared to what everybody else was doing, you know. So that I think that kind of went into everything. I mean, the face obviously, yes, was a big factor, especially when the judges told them you need to change this. But like the conveyor belt, which is kind of like that's it, you know. There's nothing much going to it. It is motion, sure. But yeah, I like that idea actually. It's like something about making that face be able to like morph or rotate, and then then you actually see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to think who else. Who
So
are we missing?
I loved Anne and Luke's.
Oh yeah.
The fruit basket. That was just so fun.
It was
so much fun.
They had.
Although I did
color
agree with the judges that the handle should have maybe gone the other way.
Yeah.
Oh, it was like a big handle as opposed to like the small one right in the front of everything.
Right, because you can't see the poster model behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It was a really creative handle though, with all the smooth. Oh, it was so good.
Mm-hmm.
And all the little spears for it was just really great.
It was, yeah. And then who are we missing? Oh, we're missing
Sage and Ian.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. And there's why am I blanking on what it was? Oh, it was the butterflies. It was I thought that butterflies. Yeah, I thought it was a weird concept of like, hey, they're gonna be butter and turn. And I was like, I guess I don't know. It just seemed kind of weird to me.
I love the dad joke pun of it. To be honest.
Well, yeah.
And it was a cute build. I really appreciate the fun behind it, and there was a sense of whimsy to it.
There was, yeah.
That was one of the themes I didn't really get. I would have struggled with that. Like, what is butterfly? Like, how is that good? What does that even mean? That's not a spell. What's a butterfly spell?
Yeah.
I don't remember that from Wicked. Am I forgetting something?
I like that they built a cake and it was actually round on top.
Oh yeah.
I noticed that. I was like, now that's a cake.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. That's a little bit of a harken back to a couple episodes ago.
Why didn't anybody build a round cake that episode?
Yep. Yeah. Ben mentioned, he said the Glinda face on theirs was funny because it had like a really huge smile, and it did. Yeah.
It did.
She was just enjoying herself turning butter into butterflies.
Yeah, she did.
Yeah.
And you could tell their focus was on the build itself because their butterflies just they just kind of spun around. Like there wasn't much more to it than that, I don't think.
I don't really remember the motion on theirs too much.
Yeah,
they kind of fell in the middle for me this week.
Yeah, it was the two. It had butterflies on like two different levels, and they just kind of spun around. It was just like around a central thing or whatever.
That's right. Okay, I can see it now.
So overall, and again, backstage, I was talking with Krista about a little bit about this. I was actually surprised that how the judges analyze things and stuff. I pretty much agreed with, which again. Hasn't been this whole season.
Yeah.
So
I agree too.
Yeah. So top two, I think it was pretty good to tell, and who actually won. I keep wanting to say Anthony and Joe. It wasn't Anthony and Joe. It was Meathead and
Ben and Michael.
Yeah, Ben and Michael. And
this one was a little hard for me because while I thought, yes, I agreed with the top two, definitely thought it should have been John and Justin and Ben and Michael. However, I think John and Justin should have won.
Yeah.
Because they had the most overall best story, best reveal. It was more close to the IP I like Ben and Michael's build. I wish they'd spent a little bit more time on that width because it did not. The base was not working for me.
Oh no, I agree there. And in fact, we did not. I mean, like I completely forgot, Justin and John's build, because it was truly fantastic how they recreated Emerald City. It looks so good.
And
I'm sure Ben.
Hat,
Oh yeah. And again, showing that initial like, oh no, this isn't quite working. It's too heavy, blah, blah, blah. And they worked through it, which was really good. And I'm sure Ben's going to touch on this with Justin when in a little bit. But yeah, it looked so good. It was very very nice. I think
I agree with Marcella about the witch though. Like it looked so much like the farmer to me. Like, so it was almost like seeing the same build 2 weeks in a row. Like, that was an opportunity for them to, like, I know that's their style, but, like, up the ante a little bit.
Yeah, because they're very good with power functions and engineering and things like that, but I'm worried that their character work is not, they're kind of hiding behind their power functions.
Well, I think the reason might be is because of how extensive their power functionality ended up being, because that was very much, I mean, like, yes, it was Wicked, but it was very much use power functions, and so they used it to a full extent of what it could do and what they could do. And yeah, I can see that where they're sort of hiding behind it, but if they do it a third week in a row, I guarantee you the judges will be like, ooh, yeah, no, we can't keep doing this now. And now you gotta, up your game.
Yeah.
I think, though, they tend to throw everything they can do out there. and I think for me, like, thinking about, like, time management and stuff, which I know we get cracked on all the time.
Right.
But just because you can do something, should you? Like, it's going overboard on the power functions the best use of your time, when if you scaled back one or two of the functions, or even like simplify them just a little bit, that would give you that extra time to work on that character a little bit more.
Well, see, and that in a sense is a voice, I think, of maturity versus like, we're in this competition, what do meatheads do? They power through. It's like everything. Let's throw everything at them and then we'll wow them with this. And it's like, it's not necessarily what Lego is about. Yeah. So, bottom
they did
two.
Take home the win, and it was a hard decision, but it's a well-deserved win.
It's a well-deserved win. We lost the golden brick because it was used and didn't need to be used, but it was used. So. But, I mean, they wanted to be sure they weren't 100%. And maybe if they weren't so... I mean, again, they wanted to be focused so they could get it finished. But maybe if they weren't and they were kind of looking around and seeing what others were struggling with, they might have been like, yeah, I think we're all right.
Yeah.
That's so hard to do, though.
Yeah.
So hard.
Because you hear it all the time, like, look around the room. And it's like, okay, I'm looking around the room, and the 30 seconds I'm running to the brick pit and back. And, like, you don't have time to, like, absorb what you're seeing.
And all your concern is, am I doing it enough? Is this good enough? Are we doing the brief? It's like,
yeah.
Well, that's kind of an interesting thing, a question I have. So, like obviously you got, in your experience with everybody being on the show and stuff, you would have talked with each other and stuff throughout, waiting for takes, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. But like during the actual competition, like how often is like one team or one member from a team like talking with another team? I mean, like aside from like asking like an errant question of like, what's Wicked about? Like it probably doesn't happen at all, really, right?
It's minimal. I mean, you talk to maybe the table next to you, or when you look up, you might see the table across from you. But aside from that, like, you don't have a whole scan of the room.
Oh.
Yeah, it's oddly quiet.
Interesting.
Except when you're ribbing each other or
yeah. Will seems to Will seems to like to drum that up too. Like in the one with the pig, it's like, oh, the other team's doing a pig. Who does the better pig? And like everybody's snorting down everything.
Yeah. And if you look a couple times, we're all like, what's going on? What's happening?
So is it actually hard to hear in there? I mean, like you can tell when the camera pan or pulls back, like especially like in the initial like opening, like when the doors open, the teams come out, like and it pan or pulls back, way far. Like you can see the room is pretty big.
Mm-hmm.
Like
the room's huge. The room is huge, and it's actually it was hard for me to hear what was going on in the front of the room.
Okay.
When we were in the back of the room, and vice versa. When we were in the front of the room, I didn't really hear what was going on in the back of the room because I was so focused on what I was doing.
Right.
Well, Devin, sound doesn't really travel in there. So, like, if they're doing their, like, Will and the judges are doing their kind of interludes while we're building.
Yeah.
We don't really hear, like, we see that they're up there and talking, but because the mics aren't switched on over the PA, like, we never heard what they were saying.
Oh, okay. So it's almost so at times it's almost like everybody else is isolated.
Right.
Okay.
Sort of. Kind of has that little feeling, but it's like the room is just massive.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's designed so that sound doesn't travel easily because you are mic'd up. You are, you don't want to hear the ambient noise around you.
Yeah. And you don't want to hear what your competitors are doing as well. You're trying to keep it all hush hush and secret at your desk.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But I
think that's how we ended up with 2 pigs.
That totally get that. But that's also how you get really cool sound bites like
Yeah.
So where does a tail go? I don't know. Yep. Put it in the butt.
I don't even remember saying that.
Which is hilarious, which I find so hilarious. Because again, it was so deadpan. Both of you were just like so matter of fact. It was just like great. Ben said that was such a good line. All right, so bottom 2. Do you think the judges made the best or the best decision out of of the 2 that should go home? Or do you agree with their decision? I guess I should say.
Unfortunately,
you never want to see
I would
anyone
have
go.
No, you never want to see anybody go.
Right? Yeah, of course.
But I would have probably put Alex and Tone in the bottom.
Okay.
But I struggle with putting Nikki and Britt in the bottom.
I agree.
Who would you put?
I might have put Corey and Rebecca. Because it was kind of a giant pink box. While the story
very close details.
Yeah, I really applauded Nikki and Britton's attempt at what they did.
Mm-hmm.
They really went for it. And if you saw Grand Masters this week, it was another case of really going for it and it not happening. So I just applaud them for trying something different and outside of their wheelhouse.
Yeah. And their first one worked just fine. The sliding doors, which is the harder of the 2, worked perfectly. It did what it was supposed to do.
Yep.
Well, as someone who does great ball contraptions, like that thing can run and work right 99.9% of the time.
Yep.
Except the one moment you need it to work, and it just doesn't.
Yep.
So, if they've never worked with power functions before or motorized anything, it's one of those things that you don't necessarily account for it because you're like, well, it's just going to work.
Yeah.
And you kind of have to like keep running it and testing it and running it and fine tuning it. And sometimes you just don't know. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
Yep. Now, so obviously Alex and Tome, they go home, and now we're left with 4 groups? 5.
Nikki and Britton, John and Justin, Ben and Michael,
Ian and Sage,
Luke and Anne, Ian and
Sage.
Sage, Corey and Rebecca,
Jamie and Maya.
7.
Oh, okay, so we're left with 7. Okay, so we still have 7. All right. I don't recall seeing what the preview is for next week. What was it? Did you guys see it?
That was insane.
I didn't see it.
I actually was scared of. I was like, okay, I don't know what we would have done in this one.
Okay.
I was like, Krista, This is all you.
So I didn't fully pick it up because other things were happening when I was watching it. Is it what I think it is?
It's like super power functions. Like every group gets a certain function, like push, pull.
Oh, that's right. I did see that. Okay.
And it's 1v1. It's team against team.
Yes. Yeah. So they're lining them up against each other. Wait. So if we have 7 groups left, then there's.
We must have 8.
Yeah, we must have 8 somehow.
We must have 8. We must have missed somebody.
Let's see.
But it
Johnny,
almost,
Justin,
Ben
Corey,
just put in the
Rebecca,
thing.
Nick,
It just
Brett.
Ben just put in the chat battle bots.
Battlebots.
And that's kind of what it is. You got one simple machine, so to speak, versus another, and how best you display it. That'll be interesting. It's either going to be 6 or 8.
8.
Okay, 8. All right.
We're missing Anthony and Joe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right.
Must have skipped Anthony and Joe because they gave up the golden boot. They were.
That's right. Yeah, they were. There was no elimination happening there. So yeah. Okay. So they did. So that one will be interesting. So it's which is also interesting because it's like they just did a power functions, and now they're kind of doing another one.
So it'll be interesting because then you really have to one up whatever you did in this episode. So you really have to, if you just did some simple motion, you really have to go up a level. So I'll be interested to see what Ben and Michael do because they threw everything at that.
Right.
So how do you go above that? They've set the bar, how do you do better the next week?
And I'm really looking forward to Ann and Luke because Luke just graduated from Notre Dame with an engineering degree. So I think he's really going to kill this challenge.
Yeah. And it'll be interesting too with, again, you have to use what you're given. Like you have to utilize a lever or a pull, whatever it is, and make it work in whatever and that's the thing too, is like, we don't know anything like, is there going to be a specific category of like, oh, you have to use this lever, but you have to do a space thing, or, like what else is going to be added to it.
I'll be interested to see how much time they get.
Oh yeah.
Not enough.
I'm pulling for double digits.
There you go. Well, we only had that once, right? We had what, 11, right?
Very first challenge.
Yeah, that was it. And then all the rest was like 4, 6.
10, 4, 6, now 7.
Yeah.
And a half.
And a half. Yeah, and a half. All right. Any questions from the chat real quick? I'm going to throw that out there as we're kind of wrapping things up because I don't want to go too far because I know Ben's going to have to go and get himself ready to do his interview. And definitely here, I'm going to post that in the chat again just so you guys have it. Ben is going to be interviewing another Lego Master from this season, Justin, of John and Justin fame. They're the ones that did the, if you saw the episode this past week, Monday. They did they essentially did a recreation of the Emerald City and had like the hat levitating. So that was their way of doing like, there we go. Ben asked, what's next for you two? Are you going to Brick World Chicago?
We are not going to Brick World Chicago.
However,
but we will be at Brick Rodeo.
Which I know why Ben asked that question, because Ben actually is, depending on where Brick Rodeo is, sometimes it's in Austin, sometimes it's in Dallas. I think it switches between those two. And when it's in Austin, Ben is one of the people in charge of it. So, Houston, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry. But yeah, Ben helps with that as well, and I know he's excited to get to see you guys.
We're excited too. We can't wait.
So, Brick Rodeo, and then what's after Brick Rodeo?
I think there's a particular show here in Pittsburgh that we'll be at.
Ooh.
The Ultimate Brick Show coming in November.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll be there.
So we're going to have multiples of us. All 3 of us will be there along with more of our lug. Other lugs will be coming in for that. This is like the first time that we've done something like this in Pittsburgh. We've had smaller ones like Brickfest Live come in, but this is going to be way better.
We're excited.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. So more to come. So next episode will be Monday, and don't know the title for that one. I mean, obviously it's going to be Power Functions Plus or, Advanced or something like that.
Hopefully BattleBots.
Yeah. I'll go with the BattleBots thing. Yeah, I like that. So, all right. Until next time. So maybe Thursday. It just depends on schedules and stuff. But if it works for all of us, we'll be here again Thursday. Tuesday next week will actually be the Red and Green Lions. I'll be continuing the Voltron build. And Marcella, where can they find you?
They can find me at either Watch with Marcella or Build with Marcella.
Are you on Instagram, YouTube? Where are you at?
All of the socials. Instagram,
all of the socials.
All of the socials.
And what about you, Krista?
I'm on Instagram at Berg Bricks.
All right. We got to get her to do more, don't you think?
Yeah. I'd say Facebook, but that makes me sound old.
Yeah.
I mean, I am, but
Well, Instagram kind of is Facebook. I mean, like they kind of coincide or whatever. But
right.
Hey, I keep telling you guys though, I'll show you how to stream. So
I'm thinking about it, maybe.
Yeah. You can do it. So until next time, everybody, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep on building, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
There we go.